All right. Please be seated. So we're in the responsibility unit, and we are here gathered for the Peaceful Solution Character Education Teacher Certification course. And we have been, taking our time a little bit these past few pages. This is the last book in this particular series, and then we'll move on. But if we could, let's go ahead and look at the Lesson Plan 5, page D. And we've been in Procedure 6 now for a minute, and we still currently are in Procedure number 6. And learning a little bit about treating others with respect and compassion, pages 88 through 89. And we'll move on to Procedure number 7 shortly. So let's go back over to, actually page 88, I think is where we left off on. And just as a reminder, for those of you that are online, you should be able to find our drop-down menu on there and actually download the books if you like and follow along if you don't actually have the books in person, physically. So page 88, we've been talking about, well, let's go back to 87 for just a minute. If you look at page 87 at the bottom of that straight talk there, the last little sentence, it's in bold, it says, think of others and not just yourself. And of course, last class and previously we had an opportunity to kind of describe to you what that thinking of others is like. You know, I mean, what, you just see him and you're like, oh, okay, well, that's Joe over there. I thought of him. Now let's get down to business here. You know, no, it's it's thinking of others, not just yourself. And, you know, it's been said many times in different ways, and, you know, treat others as you want to be treated and so forth. Well, digging a little deeper into that is what we've been doing, actually, and more of thinking about not only them on how you would expect to be treated if you were doing whatever they're doing at the time, but more of thinking about where they came from, what they've been through, what they're currently going through. I mean, as a very practical example, I think everyone in here has probably dealt with a loss sometime in their life of a family member or even a pet or something, but specifically really a family member, possibly very close. And when that occurs, it does something to you. You're just not, see you later, and you're on down to business or something. It doesn't go like that. You know, you have a period of where your mind might not be functioning exactly how it was before. You're grieving, you're hurting, you have a just big hole in your heart, you know. So if a person is going through something like that currently, you know, would you back off a little bit and kind of walk a little bit more softly around that person and being careful what you said? Think about it. I think most of us would. We would be careful, you know, what we were talking about, because it's not a normal time for that person, you know. And so that's a very practical example of how most people would probably react in that situation or conduct themselves. And so if we think about that a little bit deeper and go back in time in dealing with the person that we're currently, encountering, think about the whole thing, you know, and they might be doing the same thing with us, you know, and thinking about where we've been and so forth. But just a reminder there of kind of the base of what we were thinking about. And then we went on to page 88, and if I remember, I think, I had it marked there, but think we ended up about, part of the way down there. Let's just look it over real quick. It says, does maintaining a responsible character mean I can never make a mistake? Well, of course, the answer is no. We can all make mistakes, and we can all still make bad choices, which occurs all the time. It's nothing new. Well, the peaceful solution has taught us how to deal with those things. We make a mistake, okay, we look at it and we say, wow, I sure didn't mean to do that, and I didn't know that I bumped into your car, or I didn't know I stepped on your toe, or I didn't know my sprinkler came on and got you wet or something, whatever the case might be. Or we also make bad choices too, but in these things, the peaceful solution shows us how to deal with it. In mistakes, we determine that, wow, I'm going to do better at this and find out what's going on here and fix the problem that caused this mistake. Might be I was careless, I just wasn't being very responsible. Might be the other person was careless and trespassed onto my property or something, So you look at the situation and you find where things went wrong, and you determine to fix it. And also with poor choices, it says here one of the reasons why people make poor choices is because they think the only way to learn about something is to experience it. Well, there's quite a difference between a choice and a mistake. A choice is you choosing to do a certain thing, not accidentally doing a certain thing. And so there too, with the peaceful solution, we know that if we make a bad choice, we need to, fix that if we can, and really work on number one, see what we did, determine in our minds not to do it again. We'd probably want to talk to a trusted friend or advisor or something to try to, figure out how to do it better the next time and see kind of where we went wrong. And then determine in our mind not to do it again. We also have to leave ourselves a little bit of room to grow. We've talked about that over and over again, but when I mention that, it just goes with every lesson and every page in the peaceful solution. You have got to leave yourself a little bit of room to grow. You're not perfect yet. None of us are. So experience can be the worst way to learn a lesson. That's halfway down the page on page 88. And it says, for example, we shouldn't have to experience taking an addictive drug to know it's addictive. I think we mentioned that's kind of like a no-brainer, but yet people do those things. The testimonies and life experiences of the people who have been addicted or have some experience in this, should be enough that a person could learn from and say, wow, I never really want to be a part of that. There's actually, if we look at that, I think it's about the third paragraph there. There's nothing wrong with learning from the experiences of others. In fact, you're really wise if you do. And that's in everything, not just in developing and improving our character, but also in, physical work. We learn from the experiences of others. We see, we learn what we don't need to do and what we need to do. And then we have a head start on dealing with that situation. Then we go and do the right thing, and we actually make that an experience of ours, and that muscle memory starts building, whether it be the muscle, the mind up there, working on it, or whether it be your physical muscles, acclimating to whatever the situation is. So by listening to other people's experiences and educating yourself about the dangers of certain behavior, you can steer clear of the mistakes that leave so many people with so many regrets. When you focus on maintaining a responsible character, you lessen the opportunity that could leave you with a criminal record, a drug addiction, an unwanted pregnancy, or with STDs. I'll read that again. When you focus on maintaining a responsible character, there's a lot to that maintaining. Maintaining is something you really have to work at. I was talking to someone about that earlier today, and I thought, I need to do a better job of maintaining some equipment that I deal with. It's easy to get behind on it, and it's quite a responsibility. So, but maintaining that stuff is really very important. Of course, we're talking about character here, and there are many that I've talked to in going into the prisons. I've talked to, hundreds, if not thousands, but, I don't know of anybody that I've ever talked to that really wanted to be there. I know some that had a problem with learning how to leave and actually being able to get along on the outside when they did get out, and not that there's any help for them. It's a major deal, and also in everyone I've talked to and some experiences that I've been involved in on trying to work the release of somebody, it's a tough deal. It's not like they give you a check for $20,000 when you leave and say, and all this training and back you up on getting a job, and you start out with some great credit and a license and all that stuff. It doesn't work that way. I mean, you're starting at the bottom when you get out there and start over again. So it's tough action. Also, it's tough action for someone who's been divorced several times. It's tough to start over again. It's tough to start over after losing a home in a tornado or a fire or something. Say you didn't have insurance and everything was destroyed, everything gone, all your clothes, all your money, all your books, all your tools, all whatever. I mean, you name it. These things are tough, and it's hard to maintain a responsible character and in these times when these tough things are going on. But anyway, we don't want to make these bad choices and mistakes that could propel us into having this criminal record or the drug addiction or these other things that are mentioned. Is there any way to recover from making an irresponsible choice? Well, yeah, I mean, so let's read this. Sometimes people act impulsively. And impulsively, that means they act without care, without fully thinking about the consequences of their actions. Or they think that if they experiment with some risky behavior, that they won't be affected in any manner. So if you've made poor choices in the past, you can change your behavior. Making a bad choice does not mean you're a bad person. Sometimes when people make irresponsible choices, they think they've blown it and there's no hope for them. But nothing could be further from the truth. And that's why character education is so important. So I have this. Let's go back to that statement. And I would truly underline this. But sometimes people act impulsively, and this means, and here it is, they act without carefully thinking. You know the term where people say, well, I really didn't think about it. Not so. You're always thinking. Your mind is always going, So you are thinking. You did think about it. You just didn't think carefully about it. You didn't weigh the consequences of the actions that you might be choosing to take. So, anyways, when people make these irresponsible choices, they think they've blown it, but that's not true. So nothing could be further from the truth. We're back up here in the first paragraph on page 89. In fact, that's why character education is so important. It teaches you how to change from the inside out. And I know, you hear the word character education, and a lot of people don't even know what that means. We do, sitting right here, and those of you that are online watching this right now, you know what it is. But there's so many people that don't. We've been to schools and asked the question, what is character education? And they're like, oh, I don't know, what, cartoon characters? They have these crazy thoughts that they don't really understand what character is even about. And the line between personality and character is so skewed, it just mushes together in their mind. They think personality is kind of what you're talking about when you mention character. They think, oh, that person has a really great character. When they're not even talking about the character at all. They're talking about personality, And so that's why this character education is so very important, because it teaches us to change from the inside out. And we have to know what it is, though. But don't give up on yourself if you have made some irresponsible choices in the past. And this goes back to leaving yourself room to grow, setting your mind in advance. In fact, on the, I think I have a little page here. Yeah. Let's just look at that for a minute. And we've looked at this over and over again. Room to grow. This is in the character unit on page 88. Oh, right around where we're at in the responsibility unit. Okay. So room to grow. Sometimes we get our values mixed up. We're swayed by negative influences. We act impulsively. Remember, impulsively is without carefully thinking about it. And suddenly we surprise ourselves and we regret that spur-of-the-moment decision. But all of these things, all of these actions and everything, even the ones where we figure we'd blown it, it started with a thought. And if we keep our mind focused by deciding, in advance that we are going to, walk this straight and narrow highway, so to speak, and then always being aware of the direction of our thoughts and what we're being involved in. Because a lot of the times when we make those impulsive decisions, we've gotten involved in something that we probably shouldn't be involved in. If we stop and we look around and we're like, oh man, I knew better than to hang around with this guy, or man, I knew better than to come to this place, or, I should have stayed back and done this work or studied or something like that instead of coming here. You find yourself in these situations that if you were really doing the right thing, the thing that would benefit you more, instead of just going out there to have some fun, so to speak, you wouldn't be in that situation anyway. You wouldn't have the negative influences around you and so forth. But one of the ways that you can look at this and kind of learn to control it, these thoughts that are going in and out of your mind, and thinking you need to go do this instead of doing something productive and going and having fun. What you can do is start writing your thoughts down. You can write them down when you're thinking some negative thoughts, or you have these impulses that you want to go do something that you probably shouldn't get involved in, and you're probably going to regret because you find yourself in the situation, or you do something that causes some severe problems in your life. But you write it down, and then you can kind of keep track of how you're thinking and possibly change that course of thinking. Because the values, what you value, remember the value system, what you value is going to determine how you conduct yourself too, along with the influences around you and what you've learned and so forth. So you got to leave yourself a little bit of room to grow, though, and work on these things. All right, so don't give up on yourself. You've made some irresponsible choices in the past. Okay, you can learn to make responsible choices and change your behavior, because there is life, and where there is life and determination, there's hope. Yeah, if there's no life, there's really no hope. It's already done. You can't go back and say, hey, let's take that back a minute. Let's go back about 20 minutes and let me be alive for a minute and change some of these things. It doesn't work like that. So here's a few simple steps. We're on page 89. Here are a few simple steps to help you recover from poor choices and change your life. Number one is never try to hide what you've done wrong. If you know you've done something wrong, find someone to talk to who can help you process your choices. Don't act like a bad choice is no big deal. It is. And so on that, never tried to hide what you've done wrong. I would say in every way. Like, let's say you have a job to do, and you go and do that job, and something went a little bit wrong, and it took longer than it should have, or it took more money to buy, equipment or something than it should have because of something that, you did that was wrong because of a bad choice. Now that bad choice doesn't necessarily mean it was a bad character choice. You just made a bad choice in possibly how you were going to do something. Where the bad character choice comes in is if you try to hide that thing. rather than going to the person you're working for, the customer or supervisor, what have you, rather than going to them and telling them, hey, this is what occurred. I'm sorry. I'm trying to fix it right now. It's going to take a little bit longer, blah, blah, blah. That's the way to do it. Step up and let it be known what is taking place and what course of action you need to take to fix the situation. And then that way, what you are currently doing is using positive moral character to deal with that situation. And then don't act like a bad choice is no big deal. It is. A bad choice would be hiding that and sweeping it under the rug. And it's something I think we've all done if we stop and look back at it. We didn't want to disappoint somebody, and it's like, man, I just can't tell them about this. I got it fixed anyway, so we'll just fix it and set it up there, and everything's fine, No, it would be better to, spill the beans, so to speak, okay? And you know what? That's one of the things right there that builds trust. You don't just have trust. You don't just trust somebody. That has to be something that's built. You should show respect to everybody. But in trusting somebody, that is something that has to take place over time. You have to learn to trust them because of their actions and them proving that they're doing the right thing and choosing to do it every time. And number 2, let's look at that. Focus on what changes you need to make in your thoughts and actions to avoid making the same poor choices. All right, well, here's the place where you can take a little room to grow and decide in advance what you're going to do next time. You want to focus on the change in your thoughts and actions. You see that? Because remember, everything starts with a thought. Remember the little synergistic poster that we looked at where it all works together? It starts with a trigger, some type of incident, and then you have thoughts, and then the feelings start in, and then the actions and rewards or consequences. It's a big circle. It starts out with that incident or trigger, and then it goes to the thoughts, and this is where the danger zone is. You really have to get those thoughts, you really have to latch on to them, because if you let hot thoughts grow, then you start feeling it, then your feelings start taking over, and once your emotions are full blast, it's hard to pull it back, and you're probably going to make a bad choice and do something that you would regret, which of course it's an action, and you're going to have the consequence that you would rather not have. So focus on what changes you need to make in your thoughts and actions to avoid making the same poor choices. We want to be growing. We want to be developing this positive character. So not the same thing over and over and over and over again. So it might mean that you need to change your routines or find new friends to hang around with. You know how hard it is to change a routine? It's pretty tough, isn't it? A routine is like a habit, and it's tough action. It's been said that, 21 days or something like that, but then you go and read some of the other studies, and it says 21 days isn't near enough. It takes something more like 3 months, close to 3 months to really change a habit and kind of make it stick a little bit. So you don't stop at 21 days and think you got it made. Just keep on going, keep on working on it, and change those routines, those habits. Finding new friends to hang around with. That's a tough one too. But it's up to you to make changing your character a priority, because if it's not a priority, it's just going to go by the wayside each and every day. You're going to be caught up in something else. You might have it in your mind to actually work on a certain part of your character on that day, and something's probably going to take place that's going to give you the opportunity to do so. And then you get sidetracked with something. You start working on something else, or you have to end up going here or going there, because possibly you didn't make it a high enough priority. And the truth is, no one else can do it for you. No one can study for you. No one can practice the peaceful solution for you. Yes, those around you can practice the peaceful solution and be an example to you on how to conduct yourself. And some of those around you, even though they might know they're doing something, they might give that opportunity for you to see how far you've come, not necessarily on purpose, but, through being around other people, you're just going to have things take place from time to time. Anyways, we're talking about maintaining a responsible character. And so focusing on these changes that you need to make. And then number 3, once you've decided on what changes you need to make, you start applying those changes to your actions. So you're sitting back and looking and saying, okay, I really need to change this situation. This is not great for me going with these same people all the time. I've been going with them, once a week, and every time it just seems like the talk is negative. There's a lot of gossip taking place. And remember, gossip is talking about anything about anybody that you really don't have permission to talk about. That causes a lot of trouble when you're talking about somebody to someone else, and you think you might have the information right. I know not that long ago, I knew a man that was working on a job, and he had heard something about the supervisor on that job, and he heard it from other people around that he trusted, and people that he went out to eat with, and so forth and so on, people that he could call friends. And he heard things about this supervisor that stuck in his mind. I mean, once he heard it, to him it was true. It was a true fact in his mind once he heard that from someone that he trusted. Well, it ate away at him. He began to think, well, this is unfair. That person makes so much money, and that person has all this and all that and everything. And it just worked on him over and over again until one day he just up and quit. And, he could have been a great employee for the person. But he just up and quit. And that reason was because of what he had built up in his mind and what others had started with a seed planted about that supervisor in that man's mind, and saying how unfair it was and all that. And yeah, this guy, oh yeah, look, he drives this and he drives that, or he goes here and there, and look at all that money he's making, and that's funny how people get caught up in that stuff. I remember in just about every job that I've had, there has been differences in pay grades. Sometimes in a factory, the pay amount for the certain job is posted. The pay grade, they have it posted on a bulletin board somewhere, and this is the pay grade, and it pays this much a year. But a lot of times it'll have a range, like this job pays from, $10 an hour to $20 an hour, depending upon experience and so forth. And so if you get 2 people working the same job, hired about the same time, and one is making the $10 an hour and another one is making $18 an hour, and yet it looks like they're doing the same job, maybe one person has 1 year experience and the other one has 15 years experience, And so therefore there's discrepancies on the amount a person's getting paid. But always, in every job I've ever had, in every situation, you just don't talk about your pay. And one of those reasons is because people get really sensitive about that. They think, well, I'm doing the same job as him. Why is he getting paid $1 more than me? And it starts building in their mind. Or in the case of like the gossip and everything, well, I'm here this long every day, and this guy leaves after half a day, but yet he makes the same amount of money. That's not fair. But how would he even know how much that person made if there wasn't gossip taking place? Directly against the rules of the company that they work for, that says you don't share the amount you get paid with anybody. You know how I learned that? By experience. I'd heard it, and I could have done that and taken other people's experiences and put that to work. But I had to learn the hard way by experience, because as a young man, I was put in a job, and I was getting paid $2 more an hour than a man with a whole lot of experience. And he asked me how much I was getting paid. I just told him, oh man, that guy, I don't know if he ever got over it. He was so mad, he went to the president of the company and raised all kinds of cane about the whole thing. And the president of the company couldn't explain to him that I had been hired from this other company and they had to pay me a little more to hire me in, and that this wasn't where I was stopping. I was just there for a minute, and then I was going on to a whole different section of the operation that really didn't have much to do with that. But because of my loud mouth and not listening to the rules, and the rules were you don't talk about your pay, I was like, I don't know, that's not really much of a rule to me. Who cares? Why should he care? But I found out what damage could be done in doing that. So everybody needs to learn that you just don't talk about those things. That's like if you talk about if you're a Republican or Democrat at work, get ready for a fight because there's going to be somebody that's on the other side of the coin. And as politicized as everything is today, there's probably going to be some hatred involved where there could have been a decent working relationship. But people it's a really polarized thing right now on if you're Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, whatever, or whatever religion you are, if you're Muslim or Catholic or whatever. I don't mean just those two, but there seems to be a great polarization between religions right now too. So people, they get to talking about these things when they should be working, but they yak their jaws instead, and it leads to a lot of problems like this, just exactly what we're talking about, and it leads into the very next page of what we'll be talking about, and that'll be reputation. But once you've decided on what changes you need to make, you start applying those changes to your actions. So you determine in your mind that you're not going to talk about other people. You're not going to bring up that juicy little bit of gossip so people will know that you know everything about everybody and you're the person they need around you. To that person that's listening to that kind of stuff, beware, because the person doing the gossiping is probably gossiping about you too. And, the stuff you're hearing might not even be proven to be true in any manner, which has been the case many times. But anyway, that's an irresponsible choice to gossip about people. And some irresponsible choices can affect you for the rest of your life because the consequences of some decisions are irreversible. I know in one company where I was at, the gossip was so bad, and it always seemed like it was the person, like you could be, general manager or vice president of a corporation or something. You always had somebody wanting your seat. What I mean is they wanted your job. They always thought they could do the job better, and they always wanted to get that job. So they would, find everything negative to talk about and pass on and gossip about to other people, so it would make them look great, possibly in the owner's eyes or something like that. But in reality, what it does, it just creates dissension, and the reputation of the person doing all that gossip suffers almost an irreversible negative consequence. But anyway, in this example, it says, for example, if someone dares you to ride your bike down a steep hill and you fall and damage your spine, you could be in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. That's true, and that's one example. I can give you an example of someone jumping off of a dock into the water without being able to see in the water of what was there. And it's a place where they'd jumped many, 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 many times, and there was nothing wrong with jumping there, and everybody would just do that and dive off in the water. Well, guess what? This one time, it didn't work out for him, because when he hit neck first, and then he was paralyzed. And it was just because risk-taking behavior. And he was probably, hey, I jumped in, you jump in too. Okay, I'll jump, that risk-taking behavior. And, accepting these challenges and these dares and so forth. Safety is a big deal. Now, I don't want to get off on that right now because safety is a huge deal. And we as Peaceful Solution teachers and students need to be examples of safety around other people, whether we're working in construction, whether we're cutting grass, whether we're working on cars, whether we're cutting people's hair, whether that would be a big one you want to practice some safety with those clippers and everything, right? But in all these things, we want to practice safety and show the young people around us that might be around, or those that are just learning that job. We want to show them the right way to do things, where you don't get hurt, where you don't have any fingers missing, after using lots of power equipment and everything. You hear about it all the time. There's probably people in here that have had things take place. Maybe they lost, a finger or something like that because of theirs or someone else's carelessness in not being responsible with the equipment they were using, And I've done it too. How many times have you taken a piece of wood, laid it up on your leg, and taken a skill saw and gone, cut that baby off, man, and still be thinking in your mind, wow, what if that saw, caught and had kickback, and what could you do? You can't do anything because it occurs in a split second, You don't even feel it right away. It takes a few seconds for you to come to the realization, oh no, and then it's too late, and then you just got to deal with accepting it and all. And that's just one example, and then experimenting with drugs can cause even death on the first try. I've never seen anyone die myself on the first try, but I know it has occurred. People's hearts have exploded after, taking a big old, line of cocaine or wanting that big rush and sticking a needle in their arm. I know their hearts have exploded. And it will do that. I know a lot of people that, and I'm sitting here thinking how many, but I know several people that have had experiences after doing drugs and abusing alcohol and going out and driving and have a wreck and losing their life, or being very depressed after doing this for years and then taking their life. I've known plenty that have done that have taken their life, and it was due really to the alcohol and drugs, that led to their depression. But any of these things, even the premarital sex, engaging in premarital sex, and it leads to pregnancy, and that's a life-changing deal for some young people, or an incurable disease the very first time. Don't risk your health or your life to experiment with these things that are risky. That's risky behavior. You are not maintaining a responsible character if you do so. And one of the reasons I mention when we're talking about these things that are kind of close to home to me, the workplace and all, I mention that a lot because these are things I think people can connect with right there out of the chute. Because there are people that we're dealing with and teaching and working with that have never done drugs or currently don't do drugs. And so, they know what it can lead to and all, but they're not going to be jumping out and doing that anymore, hopefully. Or they're not taking any of these health risks in any way. And so, but what they do on a daily basis in working around people and working with equipment and who knows, tractors, cars, buses, cleaning equipment, lawnmowers, drills, hammers, all these things, you can do the same thing. You can have, just because of irresponsible choices, you can have a life-altering accident. I kind of think the accident goes out the window when you make a bad choice. If you make a mistake, then it can be an accident. But once you make a bad choice, you've accepted that there's risks coming your way, and now it's no longer an accident. It's almost like you chose to throw it all out and say, hey, I'll accept whatever comes my way. So I know many people like that, and really a lot of people that got heavily involved in drugs and that whole lifestyle, that's their thinking, is that, hey, I'll take whatever comes my way. And usually they're younger. When they start thinking that way, they're invincible, When you're 20, 30 years old, you are invincible, man. There is nothing that can touch you. That's the thought. You're going to live forever. Time is moving along real slow. You can't even imagine being 45 or 50 years old. You're in your 20s. You're like, I might not even live that long. But it's a long ways down the road, right? Then once you get to that point, it's kind of like, hey, man, slow this train down a little bit because it's moving too fast. And then you're looking back and saying, man, if I'd have done this different, if I'd done this different, but you can't go back and change it. And so that's the catch-22 of it all, I think. Well, all right, let's go ahead and turn back to Lesson Plan 5, page D. And we're going to move on to procedure number 7. Procedure number 7 says, stress that a negative reputation is a direct result of not maintaining a responsible character. Now, you should underline that or highlight or something, that negative reputation. I know reading over these things, stress that a negative reputation, it's so easy to read over these things and not really slow down and take a look at these words. But stress that a negative reputation is a direct result, see that? A direct result of not maintaining a responsible character. That's that stuff we were just talking about. All the, all the being careful what you say about other people, being careful that you're not one of those people that think experience is the best way to learn a lesson, because it's not. Not to say that some people don't need that kinetic, that hands-on type experience to do something. A lot of people do. Like if you're working on a car, for instance, and someone's showing you something about that car, or they gave you a book to read how to do a certain procedure, or you saw a YouTube video on how to do something, it still might not make sense to you until you reach in the toolbox and grab that wrench and start turning the bolt for yourself and skin your knuckles and find out it's in a tight spot. They didn't mention all that. You find out all those things, and then what they made look like took 15 minutes on YouTube takes you an hour and 45 minutes, because now you're practicing the real deal. You're getting some experience. Then next time you do it, you might be a little bit faster. That's just something to think about on that. Experience does need to be had in some things, just like the peaceful solution. We learn, we see the experiences of others, we get these lessons, we learn what things are, and then we go out and put them to work in our life, which is experiences, okay? It's not that we have to go out and not know any of this and then decide, oh, should I jump off that cliff or should I not jump off that cliff? And if you choose one, it's going to be bad for you. You choose the other. Well, that's the kind of experience that we don't want. We want experiences. We want to put this to work in our life and have those experiences that come with it, so that we can share them with others and encourage others and show them that making the right choice is beneficial. So, the negative reputation is a direct result of not maintaining that responsible character. All this stuff we've been learning, right? Not maintaining it. The direct result is you get what? A negative reputation. All right, so a positive reputation, on the other hand, opens doors to trust and positions of leadership. Once a person starts trusting you, they can see that you're not sweeping stuff under the rug and making it look all rosy. And believe me, when you try to do that, the person you're trying to do that already knows exactly what you're doing. I remember the author of The Peaceful Solution, a lesson one time, and that was it was eye-opening, and we might save that for a later date, but the bottom line is, he let it be known that no matter when a person that likes to hide things under the rug or sweep things under the rug, so to speak, when that person is talking to somebody and sweeping something under the rug when explaining something, they've done it so much that it's so obvious to everyone around. If you just stop and listen and watch what's taking place, the truth comes out almost all the time. I mean, really. So you got to be careful of those things, because that can give you a very bad reputation real fast. So having a positive reputation opens doors to trust and positions of leadership. Encourage students to read the section R's for Reputation found on pages 90 and 91. Encourage them to read it at home, and I do encourage you to read it at home, but we're also going to read it right here. So let's go ahead and turn to page 90. Actually, I encourage you to read it at home and take it real nice and slow and look at those words. Those words like responsible, maintain, moral character, reputation, positive, negative, simple statements, dependable. If you slow down and look at these things, even when you see things how this starts out, look at that. First of all, R's for reputation, and whether positive or negative, you earn your own reputation. This is nobody forcing it on you. You can't blame it on anybody else. This is your reputation. Now, there might be people out there that are trying to ruin your reputation, but time is the medicine for that. Time is the cure for that. Because over a period of time, the person that's gossiping and trying to ruin your reputation will be found out by all those around him. And if you maintain your positive reputation, even though you know that's taking place, and you maintain that positive reputation and do what you know is right, in time, people will find out the truth. And the reputation, it'll be there. It will attach itself to whichever you are, positive or negative. So starting with that first sentence, when, and this is when meaning, okay, you are either going to get there or you are already there. When you are responsible, so this is looking at, okay, you've made it to this point. When you are responsible and maintain your moral character, and that's what we were talking about doing on those last several pages, maintaining it, you can earn a positive reputation. Earn. Notice it says earn. You don't automatically get it. People don't automatically just throw it at you. You can start out and people can have a positive idea about you and think that, hey, that guy's probably got a pretty great reputation from what I've seen so far. And it might be kind of fresh out of the chute, but believe me, they'll be watching to see how you conduct yourself to see if that positive reputation stays with you or not. Your reputation is how you are known by others. Your reputation can be positive or negative and is based on whether or not you maintain a responsible character. Because reputation tends to be a longer term thing. That personality thing where you jump out there and you're smiling and everything. You come out from around the corner and you got your smile on, and everybody likes you and you're the life of the party and all that stuff, Your personality is the thing that people see, and it lasts for a little while. They have that idea about you and it lasts for a little while, but reputation is the thing that after they've known you a while and see how you are, and you might have some great positive points in your reputation, and you might have some negative points in your reputation that probably need worked on. They can say, that guy is very honest. I would trust him with anything. So you've built that part of it through different tests and trials and experiences and so forth, that person trusts you with leaving his wallet laying on the table or with the key to your house or whatever. And, I do know people like that I do trust them completely, where I could give them the key to my house and I know they would only go in there when they needed to and asked me first. And it would be because I'm not there or something like that. And, everything would be right. Otherwise, they would never go in. But that reputation was earned over a period of years. And at the same time, you might have some negatives, maybe you're loud and boisterous and don't know how to park a car or something, or, you might have some things that you need to work on, some smaller things like that I know myself, I know some of the things that I need to work on. I'm sure some of you probably know some other things that you would like to see me working on. and we'll get to that too. But everyone has some positives and some negatives in their character and in their reputation. But the more that you can consistently do these things, when you get that reputation for being honest, if you consistently maintain that, it'll never go away. And at some point, it'll just be such a part of your life, it just will never go away, no matter what temptation comes your way. The other things that you might be working on, you can develop and build on those and have a positive reputation in everything that you do. But it's based upon whether or not you maintain that responsible character. So often a person's reputation can be summed up in a simple statements such as, you can trust him. He won't let you down. Or, she's dependable. I'd trust her with my life. On the other hand, it could be summed up with statements like, don't leave your bag open when he's around. Or, I wouldn't trust her if she was the last person on earth. Or, I wouldn't trust that person as far as I could throw him. You've heard those before? Well, that's because that person has earned that type of a reputation. So, I had something here that, I'll have to find it in a minute. Okay. All right. So, have you ever met someone and after you were introduced, the person said, I've heard a lot about you. I've heard a lot about you. Well, does it make you nervous? What have they heard, Do you wonder what it is they've heard? People can hear about you and form opinions about your character long before they even meet you. Or in the case of the person at the job site that, formed an opinion about the boss's reputation before he even really had all the facts. But this is because our reputations precede us, and so before you get to know a person, or before they get to know you, they really don't have any judgment of that reputation, but they've already heard. If several people come up and say, yeah, man, stay away from that guy, don't leave your wallet out, or some of the things that were mentioned up there, you'd probably be thinking the same thing, that you don't need to, that you can't trust that person, because that's the reputation. So until you have the opportunity to see differently, that's going to be stuck in your head. But making poor choices can stick with us for a long time and close doors to opportunities that might have been open to us if we had made better choices. And I've seen many supervisory positions and actually business ownership positions just fly out of a person's hand because something was found out about them that their reputation came forth after a little bit of discussing it with others and getting a little bit of job history and so forth and so on. And I've seen those advancements just fly out of their hands. But here's a simple fact of life. If you make irresponsible decisions, you can earn, there's that earn again, you earn it, no one slapped it on you, you earned it, a negative reputation. Again, if it's false, it will come to light sooner or later. Often someone with a negative reputation is treated with contempt or scorn. In other words, people won't hide the fact that they dislike that individual. For example, if you've earned the reputation of being a gossiper, you will find that conversations will stop when you enter a room, and no one will tell you anything that matters to them. A negative reputation can cause one to lose friends and opportunities. And I would say also the same thing about someone who, speaks everything on their mind. It's really because of emotion. Emotion can cause a person to open their mouth and just let a bunch of stuff come out, and they're telling everybody just everything, and they might not even have all the facts before they do that thing. It might be a case of imagined disrespect. That's a real thing. When in the respect manual, it talks about the different kinds of disrespect, and there's accidental disrespect, didn't mean to do it. There is disrespect that's done to people on purpose. And there's also imagined disrespect, imaginary disrespect. You think someone disrespected you, but they did not. It's because you have some kind of attitude about them, or you saw them do something, or you heard something about them and you formed an opinion about it. So you have to be very careful about those things. Those all have an effect on reputation, yours and the other person's. So I'm going to show you this real quick on the overhead. Reputation busters, right? That's not somebody called Buster. Reputation busters. An important aspect of building your positive reputation is to be careful not to tear down someone else's. Well, we're just talking about that a little bit, right? And all of you can look back and see where even possibly recently that someone came up to you and said something about somebody that was a strike out at them on their reputation. But people's reputations can be easily destroyed when others falsely accuse or spread rumors about them. I think, even dealing with the criminal, quote, justice system that they have out there, if the prosecutors and attorneys and all these people were held accountable for their accusations and what they were doing to somebody, in other words, if they put somebody in jail falsely and they knew about it, if what awaited them when it was found out was them taking the place of that person and doing that length of time, some of that stuff would shut down, If that was how it was, and that's not retaliation, that would be them choosing their path. It's set out before them, and they're, if you were strictly told that, okay, if you accuse someone falsely, these prosecutors and attorneys and judges and so forth, if you accuse them falsely and put them in jail and it's found out that they were innocent, then you are going to take their place, okay? Letting them know right out up front, then they can choose their path. They can choose to do it right or they can choose to do it wrong. And if they choose to do it wrong, guess what awaits them? The consequences of their actions, right? Anyway, it's just a thought. But taking part in these reputation busters will not only destroy someone else's reputation or possibly cause someone who's trying to change to become frustrated and give up, but eventually it will damage your reputation as well. You will be the gossiper, You see, people seldom realize that while they are spreading rumors about others, they are also revealing some of their own negative character traits to those that they are spreading rumors to. Once again, if someone's telling you some kind of juicy little piece of gossip, guess what? Be careful, because they're probably telling somebody else a juicy little piece of gossip about you. Keep that in mind. Maybe that'll help you to turn your ears from it, because all it is negativity. It goes back to, if you can't say something great about somebody, then don't open your mouth and say anything at all. Because all it is retaliation and harm and disrespect and, trying to bust somebody's reputation. That's all it is. It's not going to make you look big. It's not going to make you look intelligent. It's not going to make you look like the person, the go-to guy or anything like that. It's going to make you look like a fool. That goes back to taking a closer look, and at the bottom of the page on that one, it's the Respect Manual, page 167, that had that reputation busters there. But at the bottom of the page, it reminds us what we talked about yesterday too. When reporting information, you must be careful to report exactly what you see or hear, and not your opinion or your interpretation of what you see or hear, because you'll get a reputation as being one that's completely negative. And I can think of a certain time when I did that. I was looking at checking some information for somebody, and it had to do with their driver's license or something, or with their car license, and I had a preformed opinion about that. And so the facts kind of went out the window. The facts were there, and I'm sure I mentioned the facts, but I mentioned them with my own spin on things. I found out that my spin was wrong, completely wrong. And if I would have just given the facts, then I would not have looked like a fool in that situation. So when that occurs, it takes a long time before you're ever trusted again to, for a person to get the facts from. From someone that just wants the facts so they can make a decision, they might be getting facts from you and from this person and this person over here. And if they find out that someone's giving them untrue facts, false facts, false information, or always giving them their spin on that information, they're going to stop asking you, and you're not going to be a trusted individual. Keep that in mind, because we are talking about building our reputations and maintaining our positive moral character. With that being said, our next class is going to be Sunday at 5:30 p.m., and Chris should be the teacher. We invite everyone back here this coming Sunday at 5:30 p.m. Look forward to seeing you. Thank you.